Hello, hello everyone. We're on day 106 of the full-scale Ukrainian war against Russia. My name is Natalia Staroprava. With us today is Jeremy Locke and Joseph Woodke, a veteran of the U.S. Air Force and Paralympic athlete. We will discuss their personal experience of rehabilitation and the system of rehabilitation, how it should look in Ukraine. Hello. The first question is, what is your goal? What is your objective with regard to being in Ukraine right now?
We really just wanted to come out here and try and share our stories as veterans, and as me especially after being wounded fighting in Afghanistan. And just when I seen what the war was going on and everything, I just wanted to be able to come out here and try and maybe meet with some of the veterans out here and share my story and tell them kind of what the rehabilitation process is, and how I was able to get through it, and answer any questions they might have, and go from there.
Також хочеться дізнатися.
We'd also like to know what do people say in the U.S. about the armed forces of Ukraine, and what is known about the situation with the war in Ukraine?
What's important to know out here is that there's a strong support for Ukraine and for its heroes that are out here fighting. They're fighting it's a very difficult time for you all, but the way that your countries come together, the way that everybody stepped up and stepped in defense of your land, it's very inspiring, and it's something that you do see in the United States. A lot of conversations around the table, a lot of conversations at the grocery store, all over the place. You see support for Ukraine everywhere. So it's actually been an inspiration for the people of the United States. As we are in a time where you could argue that we are a little divided in the U.S., we are actually seeing the strength of your people coming together is very inspiring for Americans.
Thank you. The next question would be, what do you think should be the first thing you should keep in mind for in terms of rehabilitating people who have come back from the U.S.? What is the first thing you would have to think of in terms of setting up a rehabilitation system as well in the country?
Need to think of is getting as much support to those wounded fighters coming back. If you're able to bring their family in or friends, or even just, I remember when I was back at Walter Reed and just 21 years old, come back from Afghanistan, and not knowing what I was going to be able to do with my life or what the rehab process was going to be, and just having some of the guys who had been at the hospital longer than me just come into your room and kind of just be there for you, like morally. And for me, just like I said, being 21 years old and just lost both my legs, to see a double amputee walk into that room, it just showed me that, hey, this is possible, and that someday I'll be there. And that's another reason why I wanted to be here. If I could just show some of these guys that, like, hey man, your life's not over. It's possible to be up and be mobile, to continue in the fight, and have a real life, a good life still.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages that you have in a hospital such as Walter Reed, and for those of you who don't know what Walter Reed is, it's a military hospital in the United States inside Washington, D.C., and the way that it's set up, it is a sort of a one-stop shop. So even though you may have a physical injury, in Joey's case, a double amputee, when he gets there, it's already been coordinated for his family to be there. It's already been coordinated where he still has a familiar structure with a Marine that's there. There's veterans that are farther ahead in the progress, so they can be an example for them. But additionally there is support for PTSD. There's support for all sorts of other things, that all right there underneath that roof. So if you're able to go to one place and not have to think about driving across town or going to this other hospital to do this and this and this, if it's all under one roof, it's so much easier for these veterans and the civilians that are injured to focus on themselves and focus on their healing. So that's a really great way to set up, and that's what we recommend.
Друзі, нагадую, якщо у вас є
Friends, I would like to remind, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. We will come up with a microphone. Богдан Миколаєнко.
I want to thank you guys for coming over here. It's not the safest period right now. It's pretty dangerous, and the fact that you managed to accomplish so much with your life after, that particular incident in 2011 is inspiring for all the Ukrainians. And my question is a brief one. Going through all of those things, terrible pains, recoveries, dreams, ideas, and then rediscovery of yourself. You are a gold Olympic winner after all. It takes a lot of will and self-courage and motivation to go with it. What can you tell Ukrainian people and Ukrainian nation as a whole who have lost something that they may never recover from? How can we go on with our lives? Thank you.
That's
Це питання
to figure all this out, and I think you just need to realize that the healing process is going to take a long time, but you have to continue moving forward and finding the purpose with your life, whether that be family or job or career or be an athlete, and just find a purpose and just do whatever you can to get there, and you got to keep that fighting spirit. And that's
If I may ask second and last question, what was your inspiration to keep moving? Maybe it was simple thing, movie, idea, religion, family, friends, maybe patriotism for your country, because I ain't some kind of a weak guy to just lay down. I've been to Afghanistan and I'm back here, I'm American, What was it that kept you saying, I have this, I got this going on, I can move with this?
I guess I've just always been a very competitive person. So just being able to prove to myself that exactly that, like I can do this. I can provide a good life for myself. I can keep moving. I can keep fighting. And then, like I mentioned before, being in this situation like Walter Reed, surrounded by other veterans that are going through the same thing as you. If one of my buddies learned to walk before me, like, oh, say he did that, so I can do that. If somebody learned to run, like, oh, he's running, now I can run. Somebody took college courses while they were there, like, oh, I can. If they're able to do that, I'm able to do that. So just keeping that fighting spirit alive, and I just, trying to always better myself.
Друзі, чи є у нас питання?
Do we have more questions? Please raise your hands. If, while our guests are thinking, yes, please, would you please give the microphone to this person? And would you introduce yourself, please?
Romania. How long will you stay in Ukraine? And what was your impression? I suppose that you'd had some discussions with people. How did you feel when they shared their stories with you? And what were your feelings and thoughts?
Well, we just part of that. So we just arrived yesterday. Coming here, there's a donor event on the 10th that will be discussing potentially building a hospital similar to Walter Reed. So we wanted to come out here, show support for that, raise awareness of that in the United States as well. Aerial Recovery, which is our nonprofit organization out of Nashville, Tennessee, has been out here assisting Ukraine in different capacities since the end of February, early March. We've been helping with the movement of people who are in harm's way and getting them out of dangerous areas in the front lines in the east and bringing them back here to the west. So we have a lot of people that have been out here assisting and helping. And once I heard about this hospital plan from the mayor a few weeks ago, Joey and I are pretty good buddies, so I reached out to him, and he's got the greatest heart in the world, and I knew that he would want to come out here and assist and help, and that's kind of where that ended up. And we'll be here for a few more days, but what we want to do too is help facilitate on the back end, back in the United States, for any visits or questions back there with hospitals that would be serve as a good model for the hospital out here in Lviv. So we're going to be assisting from wherever we can and however we can. So I think we'll be out here for a couple more days, but we've been back and forth helping wherever we can out here. We really support Ukraine, we support its people. I'm very proud to be out here and assist in a nation that has come together so strongly, as I mentioned before.
Маємо питання, будь ласка, візьміть мікрофон.
Not really a question, but
не так.
Of a situation. Now you guys came in, you saw the situation, you're in Lviv, and you know, the contrast is huge. There is a safe town here, you know, a lot of people coming in, and then there's places like Kyiv, Donetsk, that are completely and utterly unsafe. It's like going from Europe to Africa, if you pardon my simplification. What do you think that the American population and the whole world in your military situation, because I have a relative who's military as well on the front lines in Kharkiv, I'm not going to say who he is for safety reasons, but the people tell me that there's a certain feeling of when you're a soldier, you're fighting, and you see the world around you, the way it moves. Sometimes some people feel pretty hurt, right? They even want to go back to war because they feel a little bit more justified living in there as opposed to their regular lives. How would you suggest Ukrainian population and Ukrainian people recover from the trauma of war, and how do military people have to cope with, you know, basically going back to their regular lives? Because as bad as it sounds, war can be addictive, and I heard that not from someone else, but from a very close person to me. Thank you.
That's a very complex set of questions there that I think people have been trying to figure out for hundreds of years. But it is true. It's when you get used to a certain environment, you get used to the brotherhood and all of that. When you're going into combat, there's just a certain different type of experiences that you feel when you do that. And granted, Joey and myself, we've never been put in the situation where we have to physically fight on our home soil and defend our homeland. We've always gone forward and defended our interests or those in vulnerable around the world. So there's a different complexity of it too here in Ukraine, I would imagine. Knowing that you are fighting for neighborhoods, you are fighting for family homes and all of that. So it's very admirable to see how you guys have come together, as I stated before. But I think you need to understand that no matter what you're doing, there are so many things that have to happen in order to have a successful war effort. And that's everything from ensuring that supplies make it across borders. It's from ensuring that when these heroes come back and they have a rest period, that they're treated as heroes and they're treated with respect, and allowing them the ability to stay within communities and to share their stories together, because you do need to talk about things to process them. So I think that's very important as well. But you just need to understand that no matter what you're doing, like, you are assisting. And for us, we've kind of hung up our rifles, as we would say. But when I was out and serving in Iraq and Syria, I would see the human effect. I would see all the population and the locals that were affected by the fighting. They wanted nothing to do with what was going on. They didn't want their houses destroyed, much as here. And that wasn't our mission out there. Our mission was to protect our soldiers and protect our mission. And so being able to see all those people that are affected by essentially we're part of the fighting, it's something that really rang like a chord in me. So it's a terrible situation what's going on here in Ukraine, but it's nice to be able to come in and use our military expertise and help the humanitarian side and assist the people, because the way we feel is you have your combatant soldiers going forward, and a lot of times they have to leave their family, their wives and kids and elderly alone, and it's so terrible that they have to do that. But if we're able to come in and help them not think about that as much as possible, we can come help in and use our military expertise to safely move people around, and knowing that their father, their brother, their grandfather, whoever is out fighting, but that's one thing less for them to worry about. So I encourage all of you back here that when you do see refugees coming in and any of that, you assist them in any way, because they're knowing that they're safe helps your combatants out there defending your country. That's what we're trying to do on our end.
На підсумок хотілося б підкреслити, що в Україні
To conclude, I would like to stress that Ukraine also has an international battalion, international delegation that includes US representatives. So I wanted to ask, why, as Americans, why does it matter for you to participate in combat together and defend Ukraine together with Ukrainians?
speak necessarily for those that are actually coming out and doing combat, because that's not what I'm doing, but I have a sense of like why they would want to do that, and what it really comes down to is what's right and wrong. We feel, and I imagine they feel as well, that the right thing to do here is to protect Ukraine and to protect its people. There was a unprovoked attack of a sovereign nation. There's as you know, with all the history, there's a lot of agreements that had been made in the past that this would not happen, and has happened, and it's a complete injustice. So I think that where you can use your skills in this world to be effective and to help people, you have that responsibility to use those skills in this world to be effective and help people. So I think wherever you feel called to go and you're on the side of right, that's what you need to do. And that's what I think these foreign fighters and foreign humanitarians are doing out here in Ukraine.
Дякую. З нами були Джеремі Лок.
Thank you very much. With us were Jeremy Locke and Joseph Woodke, representatives of an U.S. NGO, Aerial Recovery. Thank you very much for being here. I would like to stress that our next meeting is at 1300. With us will be the head of the Zaporizhzhia military administration, Alexander Staruch. See you.